Aloha mai kako, a Kamamaida curtain call from a distance, a program of reviews and previews of the great art and artists on Maui and beyond. I'm Paul James Brown, and I'm coming to you from my home office, where I have been conscientiously practicing self-isolation. The Maui Arts and Cultural Center is back, sort of. They produced 3 days of live music with the audience in cars. Live at the MACC was a treat to return to the feeling of the drive-in, but with live musicians rather than a big screen. The drive-in was the most affordable way for families to attend the movies in the 50s. In fact, I cannot recall ever going to the regular cinema with my family. These concerts were free, thanks to the Maui County Office of Economic Development, and they stream live. If you missed them, just go to youtube.com, put in Maui Arts and Cultural Center, and they are all there for your viewing and listening pleasure. When I heard they were doing a free concert in cars, I was initially wary. I thought, what a nightmare. But I should have known better. The MACC is one of the best run art centers anywhere, and the staff headed by President and CEO Art Vento and coordinated by Executive Vice President Candace Croteau and box office manager Jason Carbajal made the experience so pleasant and easy. Kudos to them. And I was surprised that for this event, all hands were on deck. It was so lovely to see gallery director Nida Bangerter in her mask and luminescent vest directing traffic. She told me the gallery will be open in January. Mirabile dictu. Also, it was great to see Luana Argel and Lisa Haole and all the others. Just wonderful. They are planning many more of these, so go to their website, mauiarts.org, for the entire schedule. Night one opened up with Maui's own slack key master Jeff Peterson. He performed his marvelous originals. He is truly one of the great guitarists. One of the things I love about Mr. Peterson, besides his incredibly accomplished musicianship and great compositional skills, is his love for what he is doing. You can see him revel in the sounds that he is making. This is the real test of a great artist. I remember when I saw Vladimir Horowitz. He looked at his hands as if they were not attached to his body and marveled at what he was seeing them do. Mr. Peterson does this as well, though in a different manner. Next up was Maui's own Josh Totofi, who was born on Oahu but raised on Maui and graduated in 2009 from Baldwin High School. His pedigree is Hawaiian musical royalty. His father is Tavini Totofi, a founding member of the legendary Hawaiian musical group Kapena. Mr. Totofi's debut album in 2016 earned 2 Nahaku Hanohano Awards. He has since been nominated for a Grammy. Mr. Totofi has a heartwarming, chicken skin-inducing voice, and his bandmates are monsters. Travis Kaka exhibited great blues chops in Elvira.
Oh boy, oh boy. On guitar, gentlemen.
And La Pepa Latuli had a really big solo in Just My Imagination. Mr. Totofi did a more than credible David Ruffin interpretation of the Great Temptation song.
Be a dream, or is it all just a piece of my.
Halau Nale Kamoku Uka joined the band on Pua Ki Eli. And then Mr. Totofi called Maui newcomer Damon Williams, who performed George Vacoso's If Only I Had the World, I'd Give It All to You.
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, and baby, I have just one request. Keep me in your prayers tonight.
I look forward to hearing more from Mr. Williams. Their Honkaho, which is the drive-in form of Hanaho, was sweet memories with Kumuhula Napua Grieg joining her halau. Then Hawaii's Queen of Song, Maui's own Hamia Naili'i, took the stage, and she brought Mr. Totofi back to do a duet on Smooth Tennessee Whiskey, where she got a plug for her Hana'ali'i wine. Her version of Street Life was funky and hot, with terrific solos by Sal Godinez on keys and Vailu Ryder on guitar. Hala Nalei Kamoku o Uka joined in an original gospel number inspired by a church on the Hallmark Channel. Ms. Hana'ali'i brought Mr. Peterson, who tours with her, back for the Etta James classic At Last, which Ms. Hana'ali'i owned, and it featured a virtuosic solo by Mr. Peterson. Her honka-ho was the great Bill Evans ballad, We May Never Meet Again, with another primo Sal Godinez solo. On Saturday night, the opening act was another multi-award-winning group, the Camarillo Brothers, with Carvin Makea on bass, Kamaka and Kale, which is spelled Kala'e, but everyone, including his brother, pronounced as Kale. After a couple of opening tunes, they brought out the indefatigable sister, Robi Kahakalau, for She's Got It. Kale's vocals were Prince-esque, and Kamaka showed some Prince-like chops on the guitar. Then Miss Kahakalau did a very country Are You Missing Me? Kale launched into another Maui Man song, Pat Simmons and Doobie Brothers' huge hit, Still the One, sent out to his wife. Kale and Miss Kahakalau did Fleetwood Mac's Leather and Lace. She has better intonation than Stevie Nicks. Henry Capono did In the Islands to the delight of the audience, and Lopaka Colon was having a blast on the djembe. It wouldn't be a Henry Capono concert without We Are Friends. Mr. Capono brought out Alex Kawakami, who has a James Taylor-like voice on the C&K classic Sunflower. They got the audience to participate on one of my least favorite songs by Neil Diamond, who happens to be one of my least favorite artists, on Sweet Caroline. The audience beeped and flashed their lights. It was fun. Mr. Capono finished off playing ukulele on Stand in the Light and Little Grass Shack. To finish off night two, the multiple Na Hoku Hano Hano award-winning Keola Beamer joined Matt Kahula bass, Conrad Kendrick drums, and Mr. Colon on percussion on the Jerry Santos Me Ke Aloha Ku'u Home O Kahalu'u. After they did the sexist Sweet Akole, Mr. Beamer talked about how in the islands we are a racial Teflon melting pot, and he went into the old Beamer Brothers song, Mr. Sancho Lee. Unfortunately, Mr. Vento told me this was the only glitch in the whole weekend. They lost the feed, and it didn't come back until partway through Honolulu City Lights. Moanalani Beamer joined in for hula toward the end. There were multiple honka-hos. First was The Best Is Yet to Come. And the penultimate number Saturday night was John Lennon's Imagine, sung in Hawaiian by Keola Beamer, and then Henry Capono in English. When Mr. Capono sang You May Say I'm a Dreamer, Mr. Beamer echoed him through the chorus, and Moanalani intoned a beautiful pule. The finale was fittingly the only song that you cannot do a honka-ho after, Hawaii e Aloha, with Mr. Beamer playing and singing and Mrs. Beamer leading the words. Night 3 led off with Anthony Palouk, who is only 19 years old. He has a great falsetto and is a master of special effects, laying down multiple loops, so he sounded like a full band. His ukulele playing was masterful on Let's Get Together and Feel All Right, and he had another on Let Your Love Grow. Eric Gilliam and New Jersey native Barry Flanagan, who was one half of the legendary duo Hapa with Keli'i Kanae Ali'i, formed in 1983 and broke up in 2001. But they got together again for a reunion concert last January on the island of Hawaii. Mr. Flanagan did a beautiful rendition of Santo and Johnny's big hit Sleepwalk. I don't know whether Mr. Flanagan has a name for his guitar, but it resembles Willie Nelson's holy and faded axe trigger. They did the Hapa standard Hey Aya. Mr. Gilliam took over with his O Tahiti and Back to Hanapo. Then another hapa tune from their 1992 album entitled Haleakala Ku Hano Hano. They did Guiding Star, written for the Hokulea. Mr. Gilliam's brother Timmy is a captain of the Hawaiian sailing canoe. One of the most well-known tunes by Mr. Flanagan is Olinda Road, which he did magnificently. For their honkaho, they asked Anthony Fluke to return. Mr. Flanagan, who has been an Hawaii resident for 40 years, dubbed Mr. Fluke the future of the Hawaii music scene. Mr. Fluke performed his original World Undone. Then he remained for one of Hapa's most famous, Haleakala. The last act was John Cruz with Steve Sargenti on harmonica, Marcus Johnson on bass, Sal Godinez on keyboards, and his sister Esther Godinez on congas and percussion. They, of course, did Island Style, and then an instrumental with terrific guitar work from Mr. Cruz, ably supported by the swift fingers and inventive solos from Mr. Godinez, soulful playing by Mr. Sargenti and Mr. Johnson. Next up was the Jimmy Cliff classic, Sitting Here in Limbo, where Ms. Godinez got to break loose on a conga solo. The final song in the set was Shine On. The audience showed their appreciation by turning on the lights on their phones and waving them throughout the song. The honka ho was dedicated to all the kitchen people, and it was Dis Fly Goin' Die. They got another honka ho, and John Cruz soloed on the Warren Zevon hit, You're My Witness, I'm Your Mutineer. What a great 3 days of music. Mahalo nui loa to Art Vento and everyone at the MACC who worked so hard to make this event such a marvelous experience. I love being in the comfort of the car and enjoying live music performed by an amazing group of Maui artists and guests from throughout our heavenly artistic state. Well, that's Curtain Call from a Distance for this week. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paul James Brown. Ahui ho.